to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And I am back. Once again, it is a Saturday morning, and I am tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And, I'm probably about a week late, but I decided I had a little time this morning. I get a podcast that's been pretty busy over the last week. Just like here, just like the rest of the country, we just got hammered with a bunch of winter weather. We got a bunch of snow all at once. I've been spending... every day I go out and I move snow, I shovel snow. I'm getting tired of snow. And, I had to dig the range out because I had a class, which I'm not complaining about that. I enjoy the classes, but, I got to stay on top of that because you don't want that stuff to continually pile up. I had to figure out how to keep my driveway shoveled out and open for my family and my students to get down. And then I had to figure out how to keep my parking area open for when my students did show up. So it's been an ongoing battle, moving snow, and now everything is warmed up. And now what do we have? We have mud, water, and slush. So that is what I have been doing for the last, probably about the last week. And I have been unable to get in here and do a podcast. I do apologize about that. Today's podcast, nothing specific. I don't really have any specific topics, just some random things that it kind of came to mind over the last week or so. And when I get these random thoughts that pop into my head, I go ahead and I plug them into my phone and kind of write them down and kind of remind myself that that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. So like I said, no specific topics today, just a little bit of everything. Tell you what I've been up to, tell you what I've been thinking, tell you what I got coming up. I know I had a great big permit class lined up on I don't even know what, the 13th, I think it was. The 13th. And we had just this huge blizzard, probably the biggest storm of the year so far come through, and I was able to reschedule everyone to a different class, but 4 people wanted to show up and wanted to take the class, and I am cool with that. They can show up and they can take the class, and they were tough, man. The wind was blowing, the snow was coming down sideways. There was probably 7 to 8 inches of snow on the ground, and we proceeded with class, and it was a good time. About 4 people showed up, 4 die-hard individuals to get out there in that weather and shoot the rounds needed to acquire their Idaho Enhanced Concealed Carry Permit. But my mantra always is I do one of those classes a month, and unless I just have a month where I don't get anyone signing up, I'm going to have one class every month. And over the span of the 10 years that I've been doing this, putting on these classes every month, I've only canceled one permit class. And I did that because at that time I was using an indoor range and it flooded and it was literally underwater. We would have been standing in about a foot of water. And nobody wants to stand in a foot of water while they're shooting their firearms for the shooting portion of their permit class. So I did cancel that one, and that was about 7 years ago. But my mantra is, if I get one person that signs up for class, if I've set the date and they show up, I will hold the class. It doesn't matter to me if I'm in the red. Money-wise, it does not matter to me. I will hold that class because you wanted to show up and you wanted to take it, so we will move forward with that. I hate canceling classes. I really hate canceling classes. What else do I got coming up? I got my women's academies. They start in a couple weeks, and I've filled one class up for the beginners. Halfway filled another class, and I've got a good amount of ladies in the advanced class, and I've got the guys, the men's group. Last year was a big class for the men's shooting academy. This year I've got three guys signed up for that class. So once again, I think it's going to be another year. Honestly, another year of women coming out on top. Women signing up for training. They seem to be gravitating, at least in my class and my business, they've been gravitating toward training more than men. And I don't know if it's because they're brand new and they're learning and they're just more dedicated. I have no idea. The men seem to be like, I know it all. I learned from my grandpa. I learned from my dad. It's kind of that cocky a little bit attitude is, I know it all, a little machismo. I don't need to learn anymore. I'm good. And it is what it is. But over the last 3 or 4 years, I have had a lot, probably the majority, and I've mentioned this before, the majority of my students have been women. Women are gravitating toward the firearms industry. They're gravitating toward learning and training and carrying a firearm. And I think that's fantastic. And I'll keep offering more opportunities and classes for women to come take if that's the way it's going to be. To kind of drive that home, I have a vendor event. I know it sounds funny, a vendor event, but I had a lady that she took my women's class last year. She had a great time, and she runs a business of like online marketing and stuff like that. And she organizes things in this area. She organizes these vendor events, and she's got one coming up next month. And she calls it the Gal Pals vendor event. And what it is for vendors are invited to this vendor event that have products that they sell to women. And so she asked me if I wanted to be part of that. She thought it would be, kind of good for me to get out there since majority of my students are female. And so I am going to this vendor event. I've got a video set up. I've got lots of extra classes that I've made up for women only. I'm going there with a bunch of, merch. I got hats. I've got stickers, all kinds of stuff. And so I'm going to be at this vendor event. And I normally don't do these kind of things. I mean, I've been to a couple of gun shows, and honestly, the gun shows are really boring. Granted, I'm there and I get to say hi to people and shake some hands, but they end up just not being, they kind of end up being a waste of time, right? I'm stuck there. I have to sit there, and I get a bunch of guys standing around, drinking coffee, saying hi, which is fine, and then they just talk to me about the NRA, or they talk to me about politics, and they just don't do anything. They just want to chat with me, and that's okay to a certain extent. It's like when I do my radio show, right? That me going to a gun show is like a live radio show, only it's not being recorded, and it's just kind of a waste of time. But I'm really looking forward to this one. It'll be a lot different because the people that will be coming up and talking to me are women, and they seem to be taking to the firearms world and the shooting classes much more than men are lately. And so I'm kind of excited. In fact, I was talking to the lady that was holding the event, the lady that was putting this on, and she said that possibly, even out of the vendors, I could possibly be the only guy at the show, the only man at the show. So this will be interesting. So if you're in the area, and I know a lot of my listeners are, if you're in the area, swing by, send your wives, send your girlfriends, send, if you're in the area, stop by, say hi to me. I think it's a pretty reasonable price to get in the door. I think it's around $5. I could be wrong, but I think it's around $5. Come in and stop in and say hi and come over and chat with me. I look forward to it. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how that goes for me in the future. Trying to think here. So just kind of some random thoughts I had. And again, this show's probably going to be kind of a short show. I notice I'm talking kind of fast right now. But let me look here. Sorry, my allergies are bothering me a little bit this morning. I'm not sure why, because it is winter time. But, my son is, we like him to get out of the house. He does online schooling. He's 10 years old, and I like him to get out of the house and be kind of active. And so we found locally to us, it's not like I have to drive, an hour away or anything, but, 5-10 minutes away from us, there's a little martial arts class. So it's Taekwondo, and he's been attending that, and he's been enjoying it. And I don't know anything about martial arts. I don't know anything about Taekwondo. And I look at it as, he's being physically active. He's training. He's learning things. He's having to memorize things. He's getting, having that discipline. And, I watch him, and he goes to the class, and yeah, there's kids there that he knows, but he doesn't really talk to anyone. But he sits there, and he listens, and he does what he's supposed to, and he practices his one-steps. He practices his forms. And, I think, and this is not just, this might be a little bit of a proud dad, moment here talking, but he does pretty good. And I watch the other kids get out there, and I watch them do their forms, and when they do their forms, what it is it's kind of like I don't even know. It's like a routine, right? Punch here, block here, move. It's like footwork, and you're kind of moving. If you're into martial arts, you kind of know what I'm talking about. It's like a kata or something. And he is out there, and, a lot of those kids will do this limp wristy, they'll just kind of throw their arms out and punch, and there's no definition. There's no, they're not doing it like they mean it. And my son has always been one to, since he started doing this, like when he shows his punches or his blocks, he's sharp, he's crisp. He does it like he means it. Even when he's practicing, right? He's not punching anybody, but he's 10 years old and he's giving it his all. It's crisp. It's like you said, he's doing this thing like he means it, like he would in a fight, in an actual fight. And the coach, I don't know if they call them coaches, instructors, senseis. I have no idea. I don't know the protocol for all this stuff. But he got up and he said, hey, look, and he tried to tell all the kids, right, all the students, hey, look, you do this like you mean it. When you're out there throwing a punch, throw this punch, perform this block like you mean it. Be sharp, be crisp. Well, my kid's the only one doing that in that class, right? And I think it's fantastic to watch. And I sit there and I listen to the way they talk, the things they talk about, and I relate it back to training with firearms. We talk about dry fire, we talk about all this stuff, and we talk about how you can do this without actually going out on the range, right? Well, here's the thing. When you're doing that, don't half-ass it. Don't half-ass anything. Go in there, and when you train and when you dry fire, don't just hold the gun out in front of you and start just dry firing as much as you can. You're not going to learn. That's essentially just like going out on the range and doing a mag dump, right? I want you to, make it count. Draw that gun from that holster with the correct safe draw. Bring it up, drive that gun out, acquire the sights or the red dot, whatever it happens to be that you're using. And then I want you to actuate that trigger. I want you to dry fire that gun like you mean it. Like you mean it. Don't just, it's you fight like you train. And if you're going to half-ass the training, you're going to half-ass the fight if you're ever into a situation where you have to use your firearm. Stay focused, be sharp, be crisp, train like you mean it, or train with intent. Train with intent, right? If you're going to go out and you're going through like a physical activity routine, you're going to the gym, you're doing this, like, you're not just going to get in there and lift a bunch of like really super light weights and just kind of half-ass your sit-ups and do your push-ups, on your knees and halfway, and you're not going to do that and expect to gain anything, expect to learn anything, right? You're going to go in there, you're going to give it your all, you're going to lift the weights like you should, you're going to have really good form, you're going to do the push-ups the correct way, you're going to focus on quality, possibly quality over quantity, right? Quality is much better than just doing a whole bunch of reps and doing them wrong is not great. Okay, it's not good for you. It's a waste of your effort. Getting out there and doing quality, and maybe not as many reps, right? Whether that be the draw, the dry fire, those push-ups, those sit-ups, those whatever, right? It's all about quality. You're going to create that muscle memory, create those neural pathways, and you're going to be that much further ahead. That's what you want to do. Everyone cries about, I don't have enough time. I don't know. I can't find the time to dry fire. I can't find the time to train, Well, I'll tell you what, quality over quantity. If you can just do a handful of reps the correct way, nice, crisp movements, everything correct, you're going to be so much further than, I got to hurry up and get a bunch of reps done, so I'm going to do 100 reps, and they're all crap, right? Train with intent. Make sure you dry fire. Make sure you practice. Learn how to draw that firearm. Stay in physical shape, the best physical shape that you possibly can, because that's going to affect your shooting. That's going to affect your mental health. That's going to affect your positivity that you have. You need to continue to train. You need to continue to do those things to progress and succeed in your endeavors. And whether that be some kind of fighting or martial arts, whether that be the gun. And it's amazing to me because I sit there and I listen to his instructors talk. And so much stuff that they're talking about relates back to firearms. And so much stuff we talk about with shooting and firearms relates back to the martial arts, at least this martial arts. And I think there's a lot of similarities there, and it's fascinating for me to sit there and listen to all that. And the way that the training and the instruction is somewhat the same. So, sorry about that, man. I don't know. I got both my dogs in the room today while I'm doing this podcast, and as much as I love my dogs, I am allergic to them. So I think that's making my nose run and all kinds of stuff today. So sorry if you guys got to listen to that. There's been a discussion lately ever since that last shooting, I think in Iowa, that school shooting. There's been a discussion locally where I live and on the radio show that I'm on. And I'm friends with a resource officer, or a guy that's over the resource officers locally. I'm friends with him. And we talk about this all the time. And I was listening to him on a radio show the other day, and he was talking about shootings in school and about mass shootings in school and how can we prevent that? And what are some of the steps or the actions that we can take? And he went through the same, the stuff you hear all the time, the stuff that's important, the stuff that makes sense about mental health and bullying and because a lot of these shooters, not all, but a lot of these shooters, they were picked on in school. They were the outcast. They tried to get help, right? And he talked about how the school resource officer program and they have these like anti-bullying campaigns that they run in schools, and they get to know the kids and they're friends with them, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. Then we started talking about firearms in schools. And as much as I think that we should be able to carry in schools, I get that. I understand that. I don't think you should be forced to. Whether or not they allow adults, parents carry in the schools around here, that is up to the school. I don't think we should require teachers to carry firearms necessarily unless they want to. And most teachers didn't sign up to teach with the idea that they were going to carry a gun in schools. But there is someone brought up an option, and we haven't been talking about here on the podcast, but people have been calling in over the last 4 months talking about these new Byrna guns, these Byrna pepperball guns. And they're fascinating to me. I've seen a pop up everywhere, and people want to know if they can have these, if these is a good choice for self-defense, if along with their firearm. And I don't think for the average Joe, maybe that's necessarily the way to go. They're big, bulky guns. They shoot those pepper balls. And if you're going to do that, you might as well just carry a firearm. But someone brought up the fact that might be a good option for schools, right? If you somehow, whether you locked them up in a safe, whether you only provided teacher access to them, obviously, or admin access or something, it would be really slick to have, I think, I want to explore the possibilities of having one of these Byrna firearms in the school. There are a few of them, right? So where when you grab these things, you're shooting pepper balls or whatever it is they fire, right? Rather than bullets, right? It'd be kind of a less lethal type of situation. And the law enforcement officer always talks about how if you're in the school, right, they like the kids, or if you're near the shooter, to fight back. If you've got a group of teachers or a group of football players and they're in a class and they were to bombard the shooter as they walked into the room and all rush the shooter, right, that's going to overwhelm them. Is someone going to get hurt? Someone could very possibly get hurt, but better one than an entire classroom of people being picked off. Well, if you've got these Byrna pepperball guns, this might be a good option to get in there to distract the shooter, to interrupt his OODA loop, to stop him, to slow him down, and then and then he could get, swarmed by or taken out by teachers or law enforcement officers or students or whatever is right there in the vicinity. So that's just something to think about, something to consider, something I've been mulling over for the last few days, actually. I really kind of like that idea of Byrna in the schools. And as much as I kind of want to mess with these Byrna pepper ball guns now, I kind of want to take a look at them and do a little more research and kind of see what they're all about, because it's fascinating to me. And I think I've been struggling trying to find a good reason for someone to have one, a good place to use a Byrna gun. What niche is it going to fill? Honestly, I think this could be an option, and maybe I'm wrong. This is just me taking a look at this, but maybe I'm wrong. But I deem this as a possibility. So, this time of year, we're in January, and guess what starts next week? SHOT Show is next week. SHOT Show, the SHOT Show that I have yet to been able to craft myself an invite to, and I just don't. I mean, I'd love to go, but then again, I don't even know if I want to go anymore. But I got that written down here just because SHOT Show is here, and if you've got money and you're looking to buy a firearm, I tell everyone, you might just hold off a little bit. Hold off buying a firearm, because SHOT Show is right around the corner, and we're going to see if there's any new firearms that are coming out. The newest stuff's going to be talked about, and it may not come out right away. It may come out middle of the year, third quarter, fourth quarter, who knows, but you're going to get a chance to hear about all the new guns hitting the market. I know Smith & Wesson, they just kind of came out with a new, I want to call it like a new package. They have, it's pretty much the M&P 2.0 9mm. It's in a gray color. It's got a threaded barrel. It comes in a package with, I think, a regular magazine. Then it comes out with two 23-round magazines. And I don't really know if there's anything different about it besides that, but it is coming out. It's one of the new package deals on the market. Hopefully, I am keeping my fingers crossed. I'm hoping that we see the release, or find the release date on the new H&K. I don't actually have the actual name for it, but it's the H&K. It's the VP9 that they're going to release, but they're going to release it in a micro compact type of situation. So I am looking forward to that. I would love to get my hands on that. I doubt it'll fit my hands, but I would imagine it's going to be a pretty awesome little gun, and it's one that I might have to purchase in the future. I am interested to see if, with the, over the last couple of years, you had the Taurus TX22 hit the market. It's my favorite, as far as I'm concerned. It's the best 22 semi-auto handgun on the market. Runs very well. I'm anxious to see if anyone else is going to follow suit. Is anyone else going to bring something to the market that's better or just as good? Did they set a new standard? Did they set the bar for 22 semi-autos now? I don't want anything weird looking. I don't want anything like the Kel-Tec, the P17, I think it is. I don't want anything weird looking. I like the Taurus because it looks like and feels like, when you're holding it, an actual defensive handgun. It feels like you're holding a 9mm handgun, right? But it shoots well. It runs. It's got a good trigger, good action. So I'm curious, is that where the bar is set now? Is it we can have better ones come out? Are people going to, I think if you release a 22 semi-auto now, it's got to be at least level with the TX22. It has to, or you're just not going to get a following. And as much as I do like Kel-Tec, I'm not a fan of that little P17 or whatever it was. It's just weird looking too. I think if you're going to shoot a 22 and train, especially a kid, or someone who's new to shooting, you're going to start them off on a 22. It pays to have one that you're going to be able to grip the same as any other gun. It's going to feel the same. The controls are going to be the same. I think that is pertinent to coming out with a good 22 caliber semi-automatic handgun now. So we will see what happens. One more question I got here, and I don't know that I have the answer for it. I think what is a beginner? When you were discussing shooting, what is a beginner? I fielded a bunch of phone calls this year. I got my women's academies, I got the beginners academies, and I got the advanced academy. And my question is, what is a beginner? I get people that call me and they say, well, am I really a beginner, or can I sign up for the advanced? And I probably shouldn't have called it the advanced class. It is I guess it is advanced. I expect more. I expect that and we move faster and quicker, and we're more focused on different things, right? But what is a beginner? How would you define what a beginner is? I'd like, you can message me, you can text me, area code 620-794-6223. You can get a hold of me on the social medias, whatever. But I want to know, what is a beginner when it comes to shooting? What class? Is it someone who's never touched a gun before? I've got people that are calling me up saying, I don't know which class to sign up for. Like, I don't consider myself a beginner. I've taken my permit class. Well, your permit class is a knowledge class. It's not necessarily a training class. You know the safety, the fundamentals. But because you know that, are you still a beginner, right? My thoughts are a little bit different. A beginner, right? You could know how to shoot. You're relatively new. You don't shoot that much. Yeah, you know the safety. Yeah, you know the fundamentals. But have you perfected the trigger press? Have you perfected all those things that if you get into a higher speed class, like an advanced type class, that you're going to need to already, we'll touch on it, but you're going to need to already know what the trigger press is, right? Already have fine trigger control, know the trigger reset, know how to press that trigger correctly, know how to take accurate shots, right? Because essentially in an advanced class, we're going to move faster. We're going to learn how to shoot more, faster and more accurate. And are you up to that? I guess that would be where I draw the line, right? Too many people think, well, I've shot once before, so I'm not a beginner. Well, you kind of are, right? You put in a bunch of time. How much do you go shoot? Well, I've shot 4 times in the last year and a half. That's really not that much. It's very interesting, people's definition of beginner. They think they're better than they are, and I'm not trying to kick anyone or knock anyone down or take anyone down a notch. I'm really not, but you're probably, if you have to ask that question, guess what? You're probably a beginner. If you have to ask, am I a beginner? You're probably a beginner. You really are. Another thought that I had this over the last couple weeks was, I ran into a few people that have actually, that carry firearms. I've ran into someone who carries a firearm, and this person's like, well, I carry, I'm not going to name any names or anything, but I carry a gun wherever I want to. I carry it all the time, and no one's going to tell me when I can and where I can and can't carry a firearm, right? And I guarantee you, here's the interesting part. This person hasn't shot for probably quite a while. I mean, how are they carrying it? Are they carrying it safely? Is it in a good holster? When people talk like that, when people say, well, I carry a gun wherever I want to carry, no one's going to tell me, guess what? That's a little bit of arrogance there. Well, there's a lot of arrogance there. And when you come across as being arrogant, it tells to me that what? It tells to me that you're probably not a very good shooter. It tells me that you think you know more than anyone else. It tells me that you're probably not real safe. It tells me that you don't shoot enough. It tells me that you're not proficient with your handgun, right? When you show up to a class or you're just talking to me and you got to brag about the gun you carry, you got to brag about how you carry it anywhere you want, that's arrogance. That's arrogance, which equals what? Arrogance equals ignorance, right? You're ignorant. You are not that good with your firearm. You are trying to make up for it with arrogance because you're too arrogant to go and decide that you need to get training, that you need to know how to use it properly, that you need to know how to shoot, that you need to know the safety rules, right? Can you shoot at a target really fast while you're standing on a static range? Yeah, you probably can. Are you going to hit anything? Oh, I don't know. Probably not. Are you going to flag everyone on the range with your gun? More than likely. Are you going to walk around with your finger on the trigger? Yeah, probably. Is your stance going to be good? Probably not. Your trigger press going to be good? Highly doubt it. You probably will know how the gun functions, right? And I know it sounds like I'm just kind of lambasting everyone, but to me, especially as an instructor, when you come to class or I talk to you, I'm just randomly talking to you, maybe you don't know I'm an instructor, and you start showing arrogance, That equals ignorance in my book, and that means you don't know what you're doing. You're probably very unsafe, and at this point, you probably shouldn't carry a firearm. And I know carrying a firearm is a God-given right. I do understand that, right? We shouldn't have to be permitted to do so. But I'm going to fall back on this, and I've been falling back on this for a long time, for at least the last 10 years, and as long as I've been doing a podcast, right? If you're going to carry a gun on your person, then you need to know how to use it. You need to understand the responsibility and get some training, some safety training, some basic fundamentals training. Learn how to use it. Learn how to be an asset with it and not an ass, okay? You need to be an asset with it, not an ass. Be a benefit. Be proficient at using that firearm. And then when you come up to me and you say, well, I carry wherever I want. Like, no one's going to tell me where I can't carry. That tells me that you're just dumb anyway. Why would you brag about that? You know, I know people that are really good with their firearms, and I know people that carry guns where they shouldn't carry. It happens all the time. But guess what? If they're serious about it, and I'm not encouraging that, but if they're serious about that, guess what? They do it and you don't know about it. They do it and they're proficient, they're good at what they do, and they don't brag about it. Don't be an idiot. Don't be ignorant. Don't be arrogant. Okay, that doesn't bode well for you. When you come to class, if you're arrogant and you're I don't want to take this beginner's class because I don't want to be in a class with a bunch of beginners. Well, guess what? You're probably not much better than they are. That's the thing, right? Just because you go out and shoot a bunch sometimes doesn't mean that you're good. Anyone can go out and burn through a couple hundred rounds really quick. I mean, I've done it in the past. Anybody can do that. That doesn't mean you're a good shooter. That means you know how to slap the trigger as fast as you can. You're probably slapping it like shit, too. Probably not going real well for you. But those are just my thoughts on today. I don't know if that's a good podcast or not, but that's what you're getting today. Just some random thoughts. It sounds like a Saturday Night Live segment, right? Just random thoughts with Todd at Patriot Defense. But that's what you're going to get. If you listen to this podcast and you support us by listening to it, I do appreciate it. Make sure you follow us on all social medias. Go ahead and share this with your family. Share this with your friends. And that would be absolutely awesome. It's the only way you're going to help this podcast grow. And as I continue to dig my way out of the snow and the muck and the mud and the ice, I will get back next week and get you another episode. I promise. And summer, honestly, spring is right around the corner. Spring is right around the corner. Now's the time to go out and dry fire, go out and train. So when you do make it out to the range for live fire, you're not wasting your time. Keep that muscle memory, develop those neural pathways, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.